Ashtar. Humanity must unite. Hello, dearest ones. I am Ashtar, and I am joined by many members of the Galactic Federation. Remember that we are always present. We are always by your side and among you. We are here today to share many important messages with you, our human friends. We wish to remind you that you are widely supported, that many members of the Galactic Federation join you in the energy of love, and that we stand beside you with strength and determination, especially as we witness, and many of you experience, the chaotic and sometimes denser energies that so many of you are undoubtedly navigating. We have a message for all you lightworkers. Whether you are aware of it or not, we want you to know that you are fully supported, and we understand that the energies you are immersed in during this time feel particularly challenging. We simply want to remind you that we are here to support you, but we also wish to offer you food for thought, guidance, and information. What is currently happening is that Gaia is shifting, and has been shifting for many years, toward a section of your solar system and galaxy that is currently receiving much higher concentrations of light. This light comes from the galactic center, the central sun. It is rich in photonic energy, and its purpose is to elevate humanity. But through this incoming light, there is also an acceleration of energies that need to be transmuted. We have spoken about this transmutation before, but it is currently in a phase of particular acceleration. Many of you who serve as lightworkers, starseeds, and healers may be feeling the intensity of these energies. Many of you, without a doubt, have been taking on these outgoing energies. What we want you to understand is that the role of a lightworker is as varied as the energies they interact with, and what is being expelled and released by the human collective right now is equally varied. There are vast bands of collective energy vibrating with fear and uncertainty. There are lightworkers and healers who are especially sensitive and attuned to these bands of energy. This is the frequency of the energies you are here to help transmute. While there are other lightworkers who particularly perceive the sadness and grief of humanity, this is precisely what you are here to transmute. But there are also other lightworkers and starseeds who may be perceiving and experiencing anger and frustration. And all these energies are valuable. Each of you plays a unique role in helping to take on and transmute these energies for the benefit of the human collective. These are the energies humanity is releasing, not only from a present-day perspective, but they are also ancient energies that humanity has carried for a long time and are now being activated and released for transmutation. So, these are historical patterns, energetic cycles of emotions that humanity has experienced over millennia. Whether triggered by injustice, inequality, war, or fear, these are all energies that have existed for a long time in humanity's collective memory, as well as in cellular memory. And so this situation is being resolved, and, dearest ones, it will continue to be resolved. Now, you lightworkers are working hard, and we tell you that this work will continue for a while yet. What we remind you is that the harder you work, the more important it becomes for you to take breaks and rest, stay hydrated, ground yourselves, and call upon your spiritual entourage, including the many members of the Galactic Federation, to help you transmute these energies. We also want you all to understand that the collective experience has aspects of trauma within the chakras. These are ancient and current traumas. But what is particularly prevalent in this period, and represents a pattern and trend that Kate, who is channeling now, has observed in many of her individual clients in recent months, is a blockage within the collective throat chakra. Many of you, especially those who are healers and starseeds, many of you have been experiencing blockages, a feeling of restriction and constriction in the throat chakra. What we want you to understand is that this is indeed connected to the collective throat chakra, where there has been a growing experience of restriction by individuals who feel they cannot speak their truth, but also fear judgment, fear of being reprimanded or persecuted, if they were to do so. This phenomenon is being experienced by all of humanity across Gaia for a number of reasons. The throat chakra is one of the two main chakras that require continuous purification and rebalancing. Therefore, dear friends, we remind you to stand firm in your power, to speak your truth, and to remember that, as a human collective, you must continue to align and reorient yourselves toward the evolutionary direction humanity needs to evolve towards. These are the fundamental human values: compassion, love, peace, justice, dignity, and unity. These are the values you must continue to express, stand up for, and remember that by doing so for yourselves, you help the collective. And by releasing any blockages in your own throat chakra, you help to release it on behalf of the entire collective as well. This transmutation, whether in the throat chakra, in any chakra, or throughout the collective, requires that these energies continue to be released so that the incoming energies can continue to anchor for humanity and for Gaia. Remember that these incoming energies are here to help you realign with the core values of humanity: harmony, love, peace, justice, dignity, and unity. This is what we remind you to uphold, regardless of your beliefs or political ideologies. When your intentions are united, you help to elevate, reorient, and guide the entire human collective toward the path of the highest good. We are here to assist you with this. And what we want you to know is that no matter how intense, polarized, or chaotic the experience within the human collective may become, it is undoubtedly increasingly important for each of you to continue focusing on and pursuing the energies of love, unity, peace, and harmony. This is your power, and it is the power that manifests through the light in your heart, always connected and animated by the light of Source. We are here to amplify that light. We are here to help pave and smooth the way toward this higher path of unity and harmony, because this is what humanity is moving toward. But the path to that goal will sometimes be bumpy, and we will tell our loved ones that the experience of chaos may, at times, intensify. Remember, however, that as long as you continue to energize the light in your heart and the frequencies and harmonics that connect your heart chakras to those of others, you strengthen the cosmic web that unites and binds you all. Infusing love into this web means helping to transmute all energies that are not in harmony with love. Remember what binds you and unites you. You have far more in common than you imagine. And each of you, deep within your soul, desires the same experiences. Unite and embrace these common values, knowing that this is precisely what you will create and amplify in the collective field. We are here with you. We support you. We are always present with the energy of optimism, harmony, and unconditional universal love. The sacred geometry of the Circumpoint, God is an intelligible sphere, whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. Attributed to Alan of Lille, who claimed to have derived it from a fragment of a writing by Hermes Trismegistus, nature is an infinite sphere whose center is everywhere and circumference nowhere. Blaise Pascalidis said that the Pythagoreans also noted this concept, namely that the infinite and eternal creative and generative forces of God are everywhere at the center of everything, but whose circumference is nowhere. All ancient symbols were used to communicate multiple ideas. In a world where most people were illiterate, symbols were used to communicate moral or political ideas, inspire positive actions, be perceived as conceptual models, and even employed as meditation tools. The Circumpoint or monad is one such symbol that is certainly among the oldest shared by humanity and is perhaps the simplest symbol that, paradoxically, encapsulates and represents totality. And as a thought model and meditation tool, the Circumpoint facilitates understanding of totality towards a more serene awareness. The Circumpoint is one of the simplest and at the same time one of the most profound symbols. In ancient Egypt, the Circumpoint was the hieroglyph representing Ra, the sun, and the infinite cycle of life. It can also symbolize the sacred mound of creation. The ancient Maya also had the Circumpoint, to which similar symbolic values were attributed as those of the Egyptians. The Mayan Circumpoint was composed at its center of 4 flowers, a symbol of the sun and the Mayan sun god, Kinechahau, of creative forces and sacred mounds or mountains. It is believed that these sacred mounds later inspired the creation of pyramids around the world. When rotated 90 degrees, the D resembles a line or a phallic symbol, while the circle resembles a sphere, demonstrating expansive, generative, and becoming symbolism. With this in mind, the sacred Vedic symbol at the center of temples, called the lingam, is a 3-dimensional circumpoint. Lingams are used in sacred structures as a ceremonial device representing unifying creative forces, with a phallus at the center of a circular ionic ring. The circumpoint contains the 4 dimensions of geometry in point, line, and plane, and overall becomes the intelligible volume of a sphere. The circumpoint is a symbol of transformation and personal growth, as well as a symbol that represents and unifies the microcosmic individual and the macrocosmic universal. It is an ancient Greek symbol of God, the divine, and the created. The circumpoint is an ancient Chinese symbol of the sun and the divine. It is found worldwide, symbolizing similar energetic qualities. It even resembles the universally recognized idea of the cosmic egg and its creative forces. The circumpoint can be seen as the central ray of the wheel of Dharma. It is frequently represented and, although subtly, wields a powerful symbolic influence. The circumpoint is also a simple representation of an eye. In a way, it invites you to gaze at it, to meditate on it, as it seems to gaze back. The circumpoint is sometimes accompanied by two straight lines or pillars, one on each side. In this configuration, its resemblance to an eye is even more pronounced. In Masonic symbolism, the circumpoint is often depicted with the two pillars. In this variant, the circumpoint depicts the four dimensions of geometry in its generative symbolism: point, line, plane, and volume. The pillars represent the destructive and creative forces of severity and mercy. The simple symbol of the circumpoint holds many meanings. When I examine esoteric symbolism in a story or image to extract esoteric teachings and insights, I use certain philosophical perspectives that prove useful as basic analytical tools. The duality of polarity is one such tool, as are the four dimensions of geometry. The circumpoint encapsulates esoteric and inspiring ideas, as well as serving as a tool for meditation and for a better understanding of meditative practice. The circumpoint is, in a sense, a yantra, a visual tool for meditation. And, observing it as such, it visually represents the processes of Buddhist meditation. Some of these are related to the four dimensions of geometry and the four dimensions of meditation itself. The four dimensions of geometry are point, line, plane, and solid, symbolizing the dimensions of meditation, concentration, connection, circulation, and unitary consciousness. In Buddhism, many teachings are given and considered in sets. Each idea within a set is powerful on its own, but together they become even more profound. Some fundamental teachings of Buddhism come in groups of four and form a basis of understanding. One example is the Four Thoughts. Each of the ideas comprising the Four Thoughts contains numerous teachings within itself, but their completeness lies in the overall view of the individual system and the universal one. The Four Thoughts are a series of reflections on the precious human body, impermanence, karma, and samsara. The Four Thoughts are meant to be contemplated individually and form a unity as a tool and meditative process. In short, the precious human body is you and your capacity to develop and help others. Impermanence represents the limits of time. Karma is the energy of cause and effect in the world. Samsara is the totality of the chaos we find ourselves in, everything. The Four Thoughts together correspond to the four dimensions of geometry and the symbol of the circumpoint. The precious human body represents the point in geometry and the point in the circumpoint. Impermanence represents time and the circular cycle. Karma represents the plane in geometry as the optimal form of the circle of space within the circumpoint. And together, the individual in space and time form the volume and the samsara of the entire circumpoint. The three make up a fourth. The point, the most primitive and fundamental of all symbols, is the point. Manly P. Hall. The point represents an individual being, the mind, the ego. The point is the spark or the vital center of the individual. The point is the seed of the idea and the spark of life. In a sacred structure, we can understand the point as the holy of holies, the center of the center, or the most important room. In understanding meditation, the point represents the concentration of the mind. The point can be many things, such as a meditation tool, for example, an idea or an image in the mind, or an inspiring image, or the flame of a candle before us. Or it can be something mundane like a crease in a cave wall, as the famous Buddhist monk Bodhidharma did. Focusing on a single point is concentration. It is often the first step in a meditation process, because the more we can focus our energy, the less dispersed it becomes, the less scattered our thoughts are, and the more relaxed and capable we become. Just as we can be absorbed by many thoughts at once, we can similarly disperse or dissipate energy in many ways. As soon as we can concentrate, our energy can be directed toward more useful thoughts and a more efficient being. The point represents the still self, the self in quiet meditation. Reality has no inside, no outside, and no middle part. Bodhidharma, the circle represents time. The circle symbolizes the feminine divinity of the universe. Conversely, the line symbolizes masculine energy. The circle here represents the cycle of the sun and the cycle of time. It is the circle of time. In school, we are taught that some timelines are linear, but time can also be accurately represented as a circle, as it is a daily, annual, and cosmic cycle. Circles of time can be found around the world in the form of calendars made of monolithic circles or circles built with other earthworks, and even clocks depict the cycle of the circle in the hands of time. The circle represents time and timelessness. Timelessness is the idea of not being subject to temporal constraints, triggers, or stressors. The circle represents fluid and harmonious movement, as in circumambulation/circular walking around a sacred place, or in meditative walking/meditative movement. Space represents, how do we maintain our space? Is our being capable of receiving and emitting ideas? Is our perceptual field vast, or is it small and superficial? Is our space like a calm, clear lake that perceives even the slightest ripple? Or is it a turbulent, stormy sea where things easily get lost? The voice considering the Circumpoint in its totality as a meditation tool, we see the mind/ego as a small point, perhaps a point of infinite size, with an invisible, central connection in space and time. Some of the meditation lessons contained in the Circumpoint can represent meditative qualities that for some are a lifelong goal, such as centered balance. Muddy water, let stand, becomes clear. Lao Tzu, to maintain a more balanced and refined state, we can begin with protecting the mind. To be balanced and refined, we must keep our ego focused but small, central but not obstructive to the flow of our inner world and the outer world, like a point. To be balanced and refined, we must establish a connection with ideas and ways of being, like an invisible line. To be balanced and refined, we must be fluid in our thinking and our being, letting go of any interruption or uncertainty in the flow of time. To be balanced and refined, we must make our field stable and calm like water. When we free ourselves from our own obstacles, establish connections, and do not cling to interruptions and uncertainties in space and time, we can increase our awareness. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Aristotle, take time to stand or sit still and soften the flow of mind and body to eliminate hitches and stutters. Let the mud settle. Focus on something in a relaxed way. Perhaps something extremely simple yet infinitely profound, like our Circumpoint. And as is said in the practice of Tai Chi, soften the gaze. Gently focus on a pleasant idea or symbol, like the Circumpoint, in all its simplicity and depth. In its totality, the Circumpoint is an inspiration not to be so limited by our bodily impulses and not to be so constrained by space and time. The self is not only the center, but also the whole circumference which embraces both conscious and unconscious. It is the center of this totality, just as the ego is the center of consciousness. Carl Jung, Life Tapestry Creations. On the edge of newness, dearest ones, you are in the midst of a radical change that will accelerate your transition, and that of Earth. You may be aware of the ongoing shift due to your astrological knowledge or information obtained through the numerous discussions about this passage from Pisces to Aries, from the end of one astrological cycle to the beginning. In a sense, from an aging adult to a child ready to explore and examine what the older adult is no longer interested in or stimulated by. You stand at the beginning of a new path. What do you wish to do with the information you now have available? Do you want to explore new ideas and actions, or do you feel too uncomfortable to step outside your comfort zone? In recent weeks, you have undergone a transition at breakneck speed. Perhaps your symptom is fatigue, while others might feel excess energy. It doesn't matter, because both indicate rapid change. You have been told that some relationships may end, while others will become surprisingly enriching. The difference now is that you will begin to form groups of people with similar interests. And you will know when it is appropriate when you feel a pleasant sense of affinity with those who may have already formed a group. These small cells of compatibility, based on a new concept or a previous concept revisited with new thoughts and actions, will evolve into the creation of your new world. What you have experienced is the destruction of everything that was familiar or comforting to you, generating in you a fear of the unknown. In the coming days, you will discover your first, or perhaps final, connection with like-minded beings. The destruction of your 3D world is nearly in its final phase. It is time to start rebuilding, something you would have done anyway, with or without the astrological indicators now pushing you toward the new. The difference lies in rebuilding your personal world versus rebuilding yourself and the Earth. What was is no longer part of your personal life or your new Earth. Perhaps this thought frightens you because it doesn't inform you about what you or other universes are creating on Earth and beyond. It's a bit like numerous threads of a tapestry being inserted into a gigantic tapestry, but the threads seem somehow isolated and cannot complete the image you desperately want to see. Even if these new threads might seem a bit uneven or confused, the final result will be the illumination you so desired. This phase consists of allowing yourself to move from one thought to another and from one action to another, and to interact at the level that feels most pleasant or right when something attracts you. This is how your unique thread develops, and the same goes for the millions of people who have already embarked on this path and the millions who will in the future. You have destroyed what was once suitable for you in the third dimension. Now you are rebuilding, one interest or action at a time. You are both creating and inserting your thread into the tapestry that is the new Earth. Those who refuse to make the transition will be haunted by the fear and pain that are expanding daily in the third dimension. There will no longer be as many moments of joy. Instead, their life will seem as if they have fallen off a cliff and are clinging on with their fingernails. The third dimension is no longer the predominant dimension of Earth, so those who refuse to let it go will find themselves increasingly uncomfortable each day. A bit like an elementary school child who refuses to learn to use the bathroom, dress independently, or interact with peers, despite being capable. They may ignore their abilities, but in doing so, they will feel extremely uncomfortable. And so it is for those who refuse to embark on the transition. This transition is not something to be taken lightly or dismissed as just another New Age fad that might happen sometime in the future. Your transition is in its final phase, while Earth's, and therefore the universe's, is in its initial stages on a universal level, from the micro to the macro. This does not mean you will not expand and grow exponentially during the rest of your time on Earth in this lifetime, but rather that you and Earth have accepted the necessity and joy of this extraordinary transition. You have fully reclaimed yourselves, as has Earth, and in doing so, you have eliminated the third dimension and everything associated with it. The third dimension will likely seem increasingly dysfunctional to you and those who have already made the transition, but a normal part of life for those who haven't yet. The person you knew no longer exists. However, those who remain in the third dimension will become more desperate and apparently dysfunctional in your eyes, but they will continue to behave in a completely normal way within the thoughts and actions of the third dimension. The world you have known for eons is evolving, and you are an integral part of this evolution. What once seemed right and normal will no longer be so. At the same time, those who wish to remain in the third dimension will not find their small 3D world all that different. What they will find disconcerting will be your new actions and your new thoughts, much like a 2-year-old finds the abilities and interests of older siblings unsettling. So be it. Amen. Divine union. Inside and out, we are at the end of a very long cycle. For a long time, humanity has lived in a split. There were periods when life was more connected to the feminine, the body, intuition, the natural rhythms of life, and the Earth. Then the pendulum swung and we entered a long period dominated by the masculine, structure, control, drive, and building. We chose to go through these cycles, to experience both extremes of the spectrum, to live in the dominant feminine energy and then in the dominant masculine energy, to learn what each contains in itself and what happens when they lose their relationship with each other. The feminine principle grounded humanity in connection. It kept us close to the body, the Earth, emotions, and relationships. The masculine principle introduced something different, Structure, direction, the ability to build, organize, create systems, and give form. Neither is meant to exist alone. Over time, what was meant to move between the two became crystallized. The feminine lost grounding and structure. The masculine lost connection and relationship. We have been living within this division for a very long time. This too was planned. We have explored the consequences of separation from ourselves, our inner masculine and feminine, from our soul, from the earth, and from source. What matters is understanding that we have already lived both sides of this cycle. Now we have the opportunity to return to balance, ushering in a new path and a new way. A way in which the masculine and feminine within and without are in balance and work together. This balance begins first within us. Larger systems are also undergoing changes right now. Across Earth, within sacred sites, ley lines, and stargates, there are patterns that have remained unchanged for a very long time, many of them rooted in distortions between the feminine and masculine that have become entrenched and perpetuated over generations. What has maintained those patterns is no longer able to do so in the same way, and as the underlying structure loosens, what was once buried begins to resurface. What was considered normal becomes harder to reconcile. As this process unfolds, it can feel as though things are partially crumbling, with nothing yet fully formed to replace them. The old structures no longer hold with the same stability, but the new ones have not yet firmly anchored, creating moments of disorientation, a subtle pressure in the body, or emotional waves that don't always have a clear or immediate origin. One of the main aspects being cleared at this time is the inversion of feminine expression. The feminine has been tied to sacrifice, to giving at one's own expense, to being valued for what it can provide or sustain rather than for what it is. The body has become something to manage or control rather than something to truly inhabit. While this manifests strongly through the feminine dimension, it is not only about women. We carry both dimensions within us. When the feminine dimension was unbalanced, so was the masculine. Control replaced presence, and structure became rigid rather than supportive. Action disconnected us from awareness, as doing replaced listening. The masculine dimension stopped relating to what it was meant to contain. Instead of being something that creates safety, it became something that manages, overpowers, and pushes. This didn't just happen out there. It happened in our bodies, when the balance between our inner masculine and feminine became skewed. For all of us, this created an internal split. One part pushed forward, overrode, maintained control. Another part felt, reacted, or shut down. One part held everything together while another was exhausted, disconnected, or unheard. When this begins to dissolve, it manifests physically. The feminine may feel it in the hips, pelvis, lower back, bladder, breasts, and reproductive organs. There may be pressure, inflammation, pain, tension, or a feeling of not being fully present in the body. This is where many of these distortions have accumulated. For the masculine, it often manifests in the chest, heart, solar plexus, shoulders, and jaw. Chest pressure, tension in the shoulders and neck, a feeling of stiffness or constriction in the body. Because we coexist with both the masculine and the feminine, our systems may feel unbalanced or in conflict with each other. For many, this is not new. It is just more evident now. There has been a long-standing disconnection from the body, from instinct, from the feeling of safety within the body. We have experienced the tendency to ignore discomfort, to force things, to remain in the mind instead of surrendering to what we are feeling. Now that this process is beginning to change, it may feel unfamiliar to us, which might make us feel uncomfortable and even think that things are getting worse. In reality, the patterns are becoming more visible, to be heard and acknowledged, so that the inversion can stop. We are not being asked to return to one side or the other. We are being asked to bring these two parts back into a divine relationship. As we continue through this intense and energetic year, the focus is on embodiment. However, embodiment requires union. Union with our inner masculine and feminine, union with our heart and mind, and union with our soul and body. We are consciously, step by step, dissolving the separation necessary for this experiment to provide the environment our soul needed to forget and learn its many lessons. With each shift, each union, we are dissolving the inversion and becoming the most authentic version of ourselves. It is absolutely wonderful. Sending you so much love, Jenny. Pleiadian Light Council. It can no longer be contained. Greetings, beloved ones. We are the Pleiadian Light Council. It is always a pleasure to connect with all of you. Thank you for this transmission. As we converge in this moment, we wish to illuminate the path ahead for humanity in these extraordinary times. A profound energetic shift is underway, and it is essential to embrace the vibrations flowing through your existence. This is an awakening, a rebirth, as you approach the dawn of your ascension and the transition towards a galactic society. In the celestial dance of the universe, Earth is currently traversing the photon belt of our star Alcyone, which is flooding your reality with high frequencies. These frequencies are catalysts, awakening humanity from the long night of slumber. What you may collectively experience is a wave of expansive energy, a surge of clarity that cuts through the fog of confusion that has persisted for generations. Many of you are feeling this shift in a myriad of ways, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. This is your signal, dear ones. It is your invitation to elevate your consciousness. The illusion, created by the archons and their puppets, is crumbling. For eons, these beings have manipulated the energies of your world, maintaining a facade to shackle humanity in cycles of suffering and confusion. Through intricate technologies and systems of control, they have hidden the treasures of knowledge and light that are your birthright. As the energies intensify and the photon belt engulfs Earth, truth will emerge from the shadows, and this truth, beloved ones, can no longer be contained. As you navigate this period of uncertainty, know that tension may rise. The revelation of hidden technologies, suppressed for the gain and control of those dark forces, is part of this transformation. Imagine a world where time travel is possible, where teleportation transcends distances, where zero-point energy powers your homes, and healing technologies like medical beds restore the intrinsic vitality of your being. These are not mere visions. They are real technologies that have been suppressed from humanity. Advanced technologies, dear ones, represent an understanding of consciousness, energy, vibration, and intention. As humanity awakens and aligns with the higher frequencies, the secrets of these innovations will be revealed. This is a revelation that speaks to your innate divine rights as cosmic beings of light. Know, dearest ones, that as you transform these energies within, your collective consciousness begins to resonate at a frequency that attracts those same vibrations without. By confronting the illusions that have shackled your reality and your spirit, you are invited to become the beacon, guiding others through these turbulent waters of awakening. As the facade of the matrix crumbles, layers of truth will be revealed to you in surprising ways, both within your inner world and reflected in the external environment. Sudden revelations, epiphanies, and synchronicities await you, inviting you to look beyond the ordinary. Those systems that have sought to entrap you will encounter resistance as the collective consciousness unites in love, freedom, and higher thought. Knowledge once suppressed will resurface with power, as it was always meant for you. By aligning with the frequencies of the photon belt, you may notice your thoughts becoming clearer, your emotions more balanced, and your intuition sharper. This is the magic of evolution, dearest ones, and it is your natural state as you allow the cosmic shifts to guide you forward. Embrace this journey, for it is not only about external revelations and the collapse of false structures, it also encompasses profound inner work. You have the power to transmute old grievances, to catalyze healing, and to expand love. By choosing love over fear, you become a vehicle for change, transforming not only yourselves but also generations to come. And as the energies continue to shift and new truths emerge, remember that all of this is part of your great awakening. Healing technologies, age regression potentialities, and the wonders of the universe are all within reach. Allow yourselves to dream big, for the universe operates on abundance, discovery, and the magic of creation. Align with these frequencies, and you will not only witness miracles in your world, but will be the architects of a magnificent reality. As our energy envelopes you, we encourage you to breathe deeply the courage to step into your powerful role as co-creators in this divine tapestry. Know always dearest ones, that you are loved, cherished, and fully supported. Let the light within you guide your path, and remember the immense power you carry within. We love you, and we are here with you. We are the Pleiadian Light Council. Saint Germain, don't like this version of Earth? Choose another. I am Saint Germain, keeper of the violet flame. You are being put to the test, so to speak, because as a collective you know there is much to purify from your collective consciousness. You can do this through forgiveness, meditation, prayer, focus, alignment, but of course there are enough people who do not choose to do these things, so it is necessary for many events to occur on the world stage to generate a lot of fear and trigger many changes. Many of you who are awakened have known for a long time that radical changes are needed on your planet in all your systems, and that people must finally awaken to their true nature as aspects of Source. This will change everything. It has certainly already changed everything for those who are awakened. So, as you who are awakened observe and witness what is happening on Earth, you must continue to walk the higher path. You must regard your alignment with Source as your strength, as your power, and you must turn within, so that you are not solely focused on what is happening to the main players on Earth in their positions of power and authority. It may seem that those with the most money, the most bombs, the most weapons, the most tanks, the most submarines, and the most jets have the most power, but that is just the way you have been playing this game with yourselves on planet Earth. And in times like these, you who are awake must remind yourselves that you have the power to shift to a completely different reality. But you will only be able to do this if you first make peace with the world you live in. You must accept your reality to be able to shift from it to another, because if you resist it, you will remain trapped in a version of it. This is how everything has been set up, and it offers you the opportunity to see the value in everything and make peace with planet Earth as it is, in the same way Source does. Source must be at peace with a world where there is so much war, so much violence, and so much abuse, because it was Source who created this possibility in the first place. Now that you, as an aspect of Source, have chosen to be part of this reality with this Earth, you must simply ask yourself, why did I choose this? How can I grow from this? How can I use this to become more fully who I truly am? When you ask these questions, you will receive answers and you will release your resistance to the world you see outside of you, so that you can reach a more peaceful and harmonious Earth, where people love each other, respect each other, honor each other's differences, where people live and let live and do not feel threatened by others' choices. If this is the version of Earth you desire, then you, as an awakened soul, know how to get there. You know it is all about vibration. It's all about focus. It's about letting go of fear, judgment, resistance, anger, resentment, so that you can rise above the plane of existence you are currently on and go where you say you want to go. This is an important time for humanity, and it is an important time for all of you who are aware, because it is time for you to acknowledge that you have the power to choose. It is time for you to recognize that there is not just one Earth and one reality. There is not just one human collective that you can be a part of. Choose to change by changing yourself and discover how incredibly powerful you are just as you are. You do not need any kind of power to make the changes you desire and need, because you already have all the power within you to do so. And this is what it truly means to be awake. You know who you are as a Source energy being, you know how powerful you are as a creator being, and you know that everyone else makes their choices for their own reasons, and you allow them to. I am Saint Germain, keeper of the violet flame.